continuation of what we just got done doing, all the factoring, especially the AC method, some GFC, some grouping, perfect squares, all the difference of squares, all the things. This test will cover two objectives. It will cover the factoring objective and it will cover the solving objective. So if you do better on this test, I can go adjust the grade for the one you took yesterday, because either that or most of you are taking it again. So if you didn't understand it or didn't do well, then hopefully it will start to sink in with this one, because we're just going to keep using all of those skills to now solve quadratic equations. So when we have a quadratic equation, the first thing that we need to be aware of is this idea of the zero product property. If I have two things that equal zero, then one of them has to be zero, right? The way that I can get an answer of zero is that I am multiplying by zero. So either A is zero or B is zero. One of them has to be zero in order for the answer to be zero. So when we are solving quadratic equations, we set it equal to zero. This standard form thing, several people did not make sure that all of their expressions yesterday were in standard form, and I think that that might have messed you up. So make sure that you put them in standard form and set it equal to zero. Then we factor. So that's usually the AC method. Or you can do grouping. I don't think, can I do grouping? No. Let me go back and erase those. So it's the AC method or your X puzzle. And then we apply this property where we set each side equal to zero. And then we plug it back in. You need to check your solutions, because sometimes you get something called extemporaneous solutions. Dominic? That don't make sense. I can't have a negative X in some cases, depending on the question, so you just want to pay attention to that. So, all right, so here is the first question. So this one is already factored, so we can skip this step. Everything's on the same side, equal to zero, and it's factored, so it's not in standard form. I don't have to do that one. So now I need to apply the zero property. So what that means is that I'm going to split this. So x minus 3 equals 0, or x plus 4 equals 0. So then we add 3 to both sides. So x equals 3, or when I subtract 4, x equals negative 4. So the way we write the answer is x equals negative 4, 3. Notice that it's in ascending order, that we have a comma between them, like x can be either one of those answers. So if I plug it back in, if I plug in negative 4 plus 4 is 0. So no matter what this is, if this is negative 4, then that's negative 7. So negative 7 times 0 is 0. And if I put 3 minus 3 is 0, and 3 here is 7, so I have 0 times positive 7. That's still 0. So you want to check your work and make sure that you understand how it does that. For number 2, it doesn't change anything just because there are more terms, more parts of the terms. So we're still going to split it. And 2x plus 5 equals 0, x minus 7 equals 0. So I'm going to subtract 5. 2x equals negative 5. So x is negative 5 over 2. Plus 7, x is 7. So x equals negative 5 over 2, or 7. It's okay if you get an ugly number. You don't have to do anything with it except write down 5 divided by 2. Because you're not going to have to plug it back in, because I'm just trying to prove that it's 0. Okay, so what's the first step? I need to subtract the 2 because I need to have it equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. So I get x squared minus 49 equals 0. That's step 1. So now I have to factor. This one is not factored. So this becomes x minus 7, x plus 7 equals 0. This is a difference of squares. So then we have x minus 7 equals 0, x plus 7 equals 0. So x equals negative 7 or positive 7 for our answers. So number 4 does not equal 0. So the first thing to do to get it to 0 is to subtract 4 from both sides. So that I get 2x squared minus 32 equals 0. Now what? The first rule was always a GCF. Take out a GCF. So I get 2 times x squared minus 16 equals 0. Now I need to factor. That's a difference of squares. So now I have 2 times x minus 4, x plus 4 equals 0. 2 can't equal 0, so 2 doesn't equal 0. So x minus 4 equals 0, or x plus 4 equals 0. So x is negative 4 or positive 4. All right, so I need to get 0. So first, add 2x to both sides. So I get 4x squared plus 4x minus 8 equals 0. First, I need a GCF. So that becomes 4 times x squared plus x minus 2 equals 0. Now I have to factor. So we do our x puzzle. It needs to multiply to be negative 2. and it needs to add to be positive 1. So that's minus 1 plus 2 as I multiply. So that becomes 4 times, wait a minute, let me do this. I'm going to bring this down here. As I rewrite this to be negative 1x plus 2x, so I have x squared minus x plus 2x minus 2. So that's divide by x, divide by 2, x times x minus 1 plus 2 times x minus 1 becomes x plus 2, x minus 1, and there's a 4 out front, equals 0. So then we split it. Oh good, I've got more room. 4 cannot equal 0 because, you know, it's a 0. So then I have x plus 2 equals 0, x minus 1 equals 0. So when we're done, I get x equals negative 2, positive 1 for the answers. So you can see, because this covers so much of the last section, if you can do the GCF, if you can factor using the AC method, this is the grouping method. We did a difference of squares up here. So if you can demonstrate those skills in this test, you won't have to redo it. What?
Why does the 4 just disappear?
Because 4 can't be equal to 0, right? We're setting everything equal. No, look, it's right here. So this is what we changed our equation to, right?
Yeah.
So this is the factored version of our original equation. So when we're solving, the zero product rule says that one of these three things has to be 0 because that's how you get 0 when you multiply. It can't be this one because 4 doesn't equal 0. So it has to be one of these two, and that's why we set the equations and get our answers.
Okay.
Make sense? Kind of? We'll have some more practice in a second. All right, so first thing, go through the order of the steps. First thing, I need to set it equal to 0, so I'm going to add 4x to both sides. So I get x squared plus 15x plus 56 equals 0. Is there a GCF? No. So then I need to factor. So I need to multiply to be 56 and add to be 15. That's 7 and 8, and they're both positive. So then we group 7x plus 8x so that I have x squared plus 7x plus 8x plus 56 equals 0. Divide by x, divide by 8. I have x times x plus 7 plus 8 times x plus 7 equals 0. X plus 8 times x plus 7 equals 0. X equals negative 8 and negative 7. So in that one problem, you showed me that you knew how to, that's not what I wanted to do. You showed me that you knew how to factor using the AC method, to do grouping, and to solve the quadratic equation. So those are all the things that you showed me for this section. do the next one. So not so much in this class, but in my other classes, I think out of 160 students, I have roughly 30 tests that I suspect cheating on. A couple things about that. One, I know what you know. I know who's done their work. I know who's practiced. I know who's made an effort to learn. And so if you haven't done anything for this section and suddenly you get like a 3 or you get all the answers right, I'm like, I don't think so. So I'm going to ask you to do it again in front of me on a different problem. And if you can't, then the 0 will stand as a cheating grade. Once you get a 0 for cheating, you cannot retake that test.
You're not talking about
Something you want to tell me, Dominic? Like,
No, I didn't cheat.
so just be aware that as I look at your tests, I know who should get a 2 or a 3, and I know who hasn't done anything and is probably going to get a 0 or a 1. So keep that in mind, because I have 30 students that over the next couple of school days are going to prove to me that they did or did not cheat. So, and it's kind of insulting. Like, I don't know what you know. Like, I don't know what cheating looks like. Like, if you write down every step and it doesn't look like that, or it doesn't look like that, chances are you're just copying it down from somebody else. So just kind of keep that in mind, that I'm aware and you only hurt yourself. A 0 that you can retake is better than a 0 that you can't. And if I catch you cheating, it's a 0 that you can't. All right, so first thing, I need it equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract x squared and I'm going to add 5x to both sides. Minus x squared plus 5x. So I have 2x squared plus 14x minus 36 equals 0. Shh. So I need a GCF. Yep, I can divide this by 2. X squared plus 7x minus 18. Yeah, equals 0. Now I got to factor. So to factor, I need two numbers that equal negative 18 and add to be positive 7. So that's negative 2 and positive 9. You're going to need your blue card if you can't see those factors. So I'm going to rewrite this as negative 2x, positive 9x. I'm going to bring my 2 down here. So this is x squared minus 2x plus 9x minus 18. Divide by x, divide by 9. X times x minus 2 plus 9 times x minus 2 gives me x plus 9, x minus 2. Don't forget to bring that 2 down. There were a couple of students yesterday who would do this part right, but then forget to bring the 2 down to their final answer. So now 2 can't be 0. So then it's either x plus 9 is 0 or x minus 2 is 0. So that x equals negative 9, positive 2. Remember, in 2 weeks, we have a lovely, I don't have, you have a 4-day weekend, so be looking forward to that. 2 Fridays from now, you don't have to be in school on Valentine's Day. Some of you, like Dominic, can stay home and cry because nobody loves you.
No, he's painting my truck on that day.
Huh?
Sammy loves me right in his.
I don't think he does. You dented his truck with your big head. And others of you can be off being lovey-dovey with your significant others. Sorry. All right. How many more are we going to do? This is the last one, and then you'll have time to practice. Plenty of time to practice. All right. So what do? I need to have it equal to 0. Shh. Come on, one more. Shh. I'm going to add 8. Now, the way that I wrote this, can I add those two terms? Negative 12x plus 8. Can I do that? No. I just have to put it there because an x and a no x can't add. So this becomes 4x squared minus 12x plus 8 equals 0. Then I can do a GCF, which is 4 times x squared minus 3x plus 2 equals 0. Now I need to factor. So I need it to multiply to be 2 and negative 3. That's negative 1 and negative 2. So I'm going to bring my 4 down here. So this is negative x minus 2x. So I have x squared minus x minus 2x plus 2. Divide by x, divide by negative 2. So I have x, bless you, x minus 1 minus 2 times x minus 1. Again, notice that this negative, I take it out so that I can have it on the outside of my parentheses. So x minus 2, x minus 1, oops, with my 4. Again, 4 doesn't equal 0. So it's either x minus 2 equals 0, x minus 1 equals 0. So x is 1 or 2.
1, 2.
It's both.
Oh, well.
So again, look at this problem. So for just this problem, if you were to get this right on the test, I could go back and say, well, you know how to do a GCF. You know how to factor using the AC method. Here's grouping. And then this is the solving equations. This doesn't show me the difference of squares, but it does show me 3 of the methods that you need to know, which would give you a 2 over whatever you had before. Okay? Actually, yeah, because it doesn't have difference of squares. But one of them up there did, so if you could do that one in another problem, then I can go back and change your grade. Hold on, babe. Okay. I can go back and change your grade to a 2 or a 3 on the last test instead of having to retake it. Does that make sense? So you're not going to have to retake it as much as you are going to have to just demonstrate it going forward.